So Robert Ingersoll was known as the great agnostic, but I kind of wanted to highlight the other side of him, the side that was very concerned with human rights and social justice. And as a disenfranchised resident of the District of Columbia, I was, of course, drawn to his suffrage address, which was delivered in 1880 right here in this city. This became even more significant to me after previously this week the Supreme Court decided that racism was dead and that the Voting Rights Act is no longer necessary in the United States of America. This speech was given in 1880, only 10 years after the 15th Amendment outlawed disenfranchising people based on their skin color. But already you could see these discriminatory voting practices like literacy tests being implemented that were keeping people from voting. It was not until 81 years later that DC was actually given the right to vote in presidential elections in 1961.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe the people to be the only rightful source of political power. That any community, no matter where, in which any citizen is not allowed to have his voice in the making of the laws he must obey, that community is a tyranny. It is a matter of astonishment to me that a meeting like this is necessary in the capital of the United States. If the citizens of the District of Columbia are not permitted to vote, if they are not allowed to govern themselves, and there is no sound reason why they're not allowed to govern themselves, then the American idea of government is a failure. I do not believe that only the rich should vote. I do not believe that right depends upon wealth, upon education, or upon color. It depends absolutely upon humanity. I'm opposed to a government that depends upon dinners and upon flattery, upon crooking the hinges of the knee, upon favors, upon subterfuges. We must direct and control our own affairs. And if we are not capable of doing it, there is no part of the Union where they are capable. It is said that there's a vast amount of ignorance here. It's true, but that's also true of every section of the United States. There is too much ignorance, and there will continue to be until the people become great enough, generous enough, and splendid enough to ensure that no child grows up in their midst without a good education. The district ought to have a representative in Congress, a representative with the right to speak. The idea. Electing a delegate who has simply the privilege of standing around. Sorry, Eleanor. We ought to have a representative who has not only the right to talk, but who will talk. The district has the right to vote in the committees of Congress, and not simply the privilege of giving a little advice. The moment someone settles here, their American citizenship falls away from them like dead leaves from a tree. Every American citizen wants a little political power. He wants to cast his vote for the rulers of the nation. He wants something to say about the laws he has to obey, and they're not willing to come here and disenfranchise themselves. The moment that it is known that a man is from the district, he has no influence, and no one cares what his political opinions may be. This government was founded upon the idea that the only source of power is the people. Let us show at the Capitol that we have confidence in that principle, that every man should have a voice, no matter how low his condition, no matter what his color is, or whether he can read or write. He has the right to name those who make the laws that he must obey. And while the lowest and most degraded in every state in this union have that right, the best and the most intelligent in the district have not. This will not do. There is no sense in it, there is no justice in it, there is nothing American in it. Here in the United States, where we have so much to say about the right of self-government, that 200,000 people, or 650,000 people, should not have the right to say who shall make and execute the law is at least an anomaly and a contradiction of our theory of government. Again, I do not believe that only the rich should have the right to vote, that only they should govern, or that only the educated should govern. I have noticed among educated men many who did not know enough to govern themselves. I have known many wealthy men who did not believe in liberty, in giving the people the same rights that they ask for themselves. Let the rich, let the educated govern the people by moral persuasion, by kindness, and by example, not by brute force. I hate tyranny in every form. I despise it. And I hate a tyrant wherever he may be. And in every country where the people are struggling for the right of self-government, I sympathize with them in their struggle. Wherever the sword of rebellion is drawn in favor of human rights, I am a rebel. I sympathize with all people who are endeavoring to push kings from thrones and struggling for the right to govern themselves. America ought to send a greeting to every part of the world where such a struggle is pending, and we of the District of Columbia ought to be able to join in that greeting, but we never shall until we have the right of self-government ourselves. I would trust the poor of this country with our liberties as soon as I would the rich. I would trust those who work by day in the streets as soon as I will the bankers of the United States. I will trust the ignorant, even the ignorant. Why? Because they want education. No people in this country are so anxious to have their children educated as those who are not educated themselves. I will trust the ignorant with the liberties of this country quicker than I would some of the educated who doubt the principles upon which our government was founded. Time is passing away when men, however wealthy, can be respected unless they use their millions for the elevation of mankind. The time is coming when no man will be called an honest man who is not willing to give to every other man every right that he asks for himself. And I despise any government that is not based upon this principle of human equality. Let us act together, Democrats and Republicans, black and white, rich and poor, educated and uneducated. Let us unite upon the principle that we have the right to govern ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.